Is now beginning. Whoa! Our service is now beginning. I'm Steve Ogden, and I'm glad to welcome you here today, and a special welcome to our friends on Zoom and YouTube who are joining us for the service. We are part of a free religious tradition that honors the loving heart, the open mind, and growing together within beloved community. As we begin our service, please remember to keep your cell phones muted and do not record any part of the service. BFUU records it, and the sermons are posted on the website. I have one correction to the order of service on the second page where it says we will sing Vine and Fig Tree. Scratch that out. We will not sing Vine and Fig Tree. If you came this morning because we were going to sing Vine and Fig Tree, I'm sorry. Yeah. We will, however, begin by singing number 118, This Little Light of Mine. Please join the choir.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, up a world, I'm gonna let it shine, 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 let it shine.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, choir. Thank you, everyone. Our guest minister this morning is the one and only Rev.Ben Meyers, who is no stranger to the congregation. In fact, I've seen him several times. Rev.Ben lives near Lake Merritt in Oakland. His ministry spans nearly 30 years. He has served as a parish minister, including here at BFUU from 2009 to 2013, as a hospice chaplain, a social justice and community minister throughout Northern California. He's the father of 2 children and loves spending as much time as possible with his now 3-year-old grandson. He is a proud parent of a transgender child and is a vocal ally and advocate for LGBTQ+ rights. We welcome Reverend Ben to our pulpit as he offers words of invocation for our sacred time together.
Thank you, Steve. And what a blessing to be back with you again this month. It's always an honor and a privilege, a joy to be here. I invite you to hear these words adapted from Esther Hobart. It is not always easy to find the light of love which is at the center of our being. There's not a set of easy instructions numbered 1 through 7 or 8 or 10. It is not always easy to find the light of love which is at the center of our communities. Today in Covenant, we celebrate our living tradition which invites us to take deep breaths of fresh air into the newness of this day and every day, so our minds, our hearts, our bodies, and our spirits will be continually nourished and illuminated. It is not always easy to find the light of love, which is at the center of our faith. So for today, we gather in community, in covenant, in faith, to celebrate the reality that love is at the core of all things, and that love will guide us if we open ourselves to the challenges of it in community, in the community which love requires of us. May we accept this challenge with dignity and grace, and may it lead our nation to greater love. Come, let us worship and sing together. Number 360 in the gray hymnal. Here we have gathered. I invite you to stand as you are willing and able.
Side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek here find a kindly word. May all who speak here feel they have been heard. Sing now together our heart's own song. Here we have gathered, God to celebrate days of our lifetime, matters small and great. We of all ages, women, children, men, and sages, sharing what we can. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows and regrets, but in the shadows let us not forget. We who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us as we give, we gain. Sing now in friendship this our heart's own song.
Thank you, choir and everyone. That was lovely. Our fellowship stands on land that is today called Berkeley, California, located in the unceded territory of the Ohlone people. We honor and respect them for their wisdom and resilience. Please light your chalice or candles at home now, while Rev.Ben lights this communal chalice for all of us, a symbol of our tradition and the spirit that lives within every one of us. Please read our unison chalice lighting, which can be found in your order of service. Let love be the spirit of this congregation and service its goal. This is our living covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truths in life, and to help one another. And now we light our red candle. We light our red candle to mourn Black lives taken by police and state violence, to proclaim that Black lives matter, and to express our commitment to Black liberation, reparations, and the end of slave capitalism. And now, Rev.Ben. That's the time for our lectures.
Oh, yeah. What I have is a fable. You may have heard this before. I invite you to enter into this with the lightness of being. Once there was an elderly woman, and she had 2 large pots, and each hung on the ends of a pole, which she carried across the back of her neck. And one of the pots was perfect and always delivered a full pot of water. But the other pot had a crack in it. And at the end of the long walk from the stream to the house, the cracked pot arrived only half full or half empty. For a full 2 years, this went on daily, with the woman bringing home only 1.5 pots of water. Of course, the perfect pot was proud of its accomplishments and liked to brag about its ability to carry a full amount of water back to the house for the old lady. But the poor, cracked pot was ashamed of its own imperfection and miserable that it could do only half of what it had been made to do. So after 2 years of what the cracked pot perceived to be bitter failure, it spoke, as pots may do in stories, to the woman one day by the stream. I'm ashamed of myself because this crack in my side causes water to leak out all the way back to your house. The old woman just smiled and said, did you notice that there are flowers on your side of the path, but not on the other pot's side? That's because I have always known about your crack. So I planted flower seeds on your side of the path, and every day while we walk back, you water them. For 2 years, I have been able to pick these beautiful flowers to decorate the table. Without you being just the way you are, there would not be this beauty to grace the house. This made the cracked pot proud and very happy. That's a fable for all of my cracked pot friends. The writer, author, sage, Leonard Cohen, has written that there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Sometimes I think I have so many cracks in me that I must surely just be filled with light. And like the cracked pot, our flaws can actually be blessings, not initially seen as such. The late Reverend Peter Fleck, in his seminal sermon called The Blessings of Imperfections, talks about life being full of opportunities to see the blessings that come from a willingness to see our mistakes, flaws, and mishaps as lessons to greater life and wisdom. Fleck asks us to consider, if we will, the first amphibians. The first one that crawled out of the water onto the land may not have done so because its feet were so strong, but because its gills were so weak. The imperfection of its gills made that first amphibian into an animal of a higher order. But one can imagine its parents' distress at this. Imagine having an offspring that was so conspicuously unable to live a normal aquatic life, an offspring with which there was obviously something wrong. And one can imagine how it was jeered at by its peers. Nor did that first amphibian have any idea of what was happening to it. It had no idea that its imperfection was actually a blessing. In his book, The Medusa and the Snail, biologist Lewis Thomas reminds us that we humans are built to make mistakes. We are coded for error, that is, for being imperfect. We learn, as we say, by trial and error. Why not trial and rightness or trial and triumph? He concludes, the old phrase puts it that way because it is, in real life, the way it is done. In other words, progress requires error. So if you aren't making mistakes, you aren't learning. You aren't growing. You aren't really engaged in this one precious life given you. We live, again, now, in a time of trial and errors. Lots of errors and lots of cracks in the fabric of our families, our communities, and indeed our nation. Heather Cox Richardson writes that we are living in the greatest division in our country since the Civil War, a war based upon a mostly single issue, the original sin of slavery in this country. Cox is a brilliant historian with the ability to teach us about ourselves as a people and a nation through the actions, good and bad, of our past. She lifts up the similarities between that great division and the one we are currently living in and hopefully through, although what the outcome will be is still, as we are fully aware of and anxious about, dependent on the outcome of the upcoming election and what we do collectively next. This time, we are not divided on a single issue, but on many, many sides. Sides that have been drawn and hardened along difference about climate change and a woman's right to agency, about economic policy and the rights of all for affordable housing, the right to unionize, and health care for all, Social Security and migrant rights, LGBTQ plus rights, and our country's place in international leadership, voting rights, and of course, whether our democracy should survive. There are many cracks in our nation's fabric, and Cox points to the legacy of Abraham Lincoln as a prescription for us in these divisive times, an example of how it could be, how things could be with the courage to take action against our anxieties for the good of all. After narrowly winning the election of 1860, Lincoln left his home of 25 years in Springfield, Illinois, and headed, of course, by train towards Washington, D.C. Along the way, he made stops, he gave speeches, he wrote letters and essays and newspaper articles which were published widely in anticipation of his inauguration and administration on the eve of the Civil War. At a stop in Indianapolis, my hometown, he gave a speech that was transcribed and distributed across the nation, and in it, he tried not to worsen the tension of the great divide in the country, but to be reassuring. He said the nation's fate depended upon the people, and he used these words: "I will only say that to the salvation of this union, there needs to be but one single thing: the hearts of a people like yours. When the people rise in masses in behalf of the Union and the liberties of their country, truly may it be said, the gates of hell shall not prevail against them." So I appeal to you again, constantly bear in mind that with you, not with politicians, not with presidents, not with office seekers, but with you is the question: shall the Union and shall the liberties of this country be preserved to the last generation? These words, of course, were a precursor for perhaps the greatest speech in American history, the Gettysburg Address, given at the turning point of that Civil War and after its worst battle to that date, recalling the origins of the nation 77 years earlier. Lincoln recentered the focus of the nation from the Constitution founded in 1789 and shifted it back to the fundamental document upon which the division from England was predicated, the Declaration of Independence. And in just 272 words, Lincoln crafted the most eloquent basis for the war and why it was so important for the survival of the country. We are now so let me remind you of some of those beautiful words. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. It is for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Lincoln's words have been committed to memory by countless thousands in our school days and beyond. But as in other literary masterpieces, the music of the language does more than please the ear. The Gettysburg Address expresses the profound conviction of Lincoln and all the people for whom he spoke, that the American experiment in democracy must not be allowed to fail. We are now 74 years from that historic moment in our nation, at another fork in the road for our democracy, one which could not be clearer, although the fog of misinformation, disinformation, and flat-out untruths are being repeated by people who firmly believe what they are being told and saying. Anxiety is high among us, for much is at stake. What happens next is both within our grasp and out of our hands, given that the popular vote is manifestly overruled by an antiquated electoral college that has usurped the power of the people twice since the year 2000 and may occur again this election cycle. Friends, I speak of all this not as a matter of politics, but as a spiritual matter. Democracy has been and continues to be one of the fundamental principles of our Unitarian Universalist faith and a hallmark of our spiritual heritage. I speak of these things not to conjure more anxiety, but because democracy must remain at the heart of the matter for us as religious communities, covenanted as we are to affirm and promote the centrality and sacredness of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large. In 1 Corinthians 13, verse 13, that scripture teaches us that truth is the highest good and love is the highest truth. We must continue to speak the truth in love, love beyond all fears, and to keep love at the center of our lives. In reflecting upon the dispiriting time in which we live, I have come to believe that the basic religious response is to refuse to be dispirited for long. May we seek and find grounding wherever we can find it, perhaps in the buds blooming, in the grace of a touch, a smile, a word, a helping hand, a decision or vote or election that goes well, a discovery that enlightens or encourages us. May we trust in the Spirit that will not be quelled forever, that rises up in people from some mysterious source, energy that comes again to affirm that people matter, all people, even those who disagree with us and with whom we disagree. For their needs and aspirations matter, and the condition of people's flourishing is the cultivation of truth, the greatest good, and love, the greatest truth. Yes, we live in a time of great division, anxiety, and fear for the future of our bodies, our right to be who we are and to love whom we love, and to have access to basic human rights and dignity through work, shelter, health benefits, and freedom, with liberty and justice for all. These are the very embodiments of love. And my friends, whether the election eventually proves a survival of our democracy, or whether we are forced to fight to restore it, remember, we are not alone. The very values that we promote and battle for will be our strength and solace in the struggles ahead, which will not disappear even if democracy sustains its effort. We are not alone. Democracy must not die, though its death knell may be rung. The bells of freedom must continue to ring and to live on by what we do, how we treat one another, and how we work together to counter the forces of fascism, authoritarianism, and oppression. As President Uncle Joe Biden has told us many times, we are in a battle for the very soul of our nation, and we must continue to believe in the motto, E pluribus unum, and create from the many one. This we can only do if we continue to love our alleged enemies as ourselves, to build bridges between our divisions, and to do as the genius Stevie Wonder has said, change your words into truth, then change that truth into love, and maybe our children's grandchildren and their great-grandchildren will tell. I leave you with this, the words of another great American historian, the late Howard Zinn, who gives us this balm and the ballast we need as we face the days ahead. Howard Zinn wrote, "We don't have to engage in grand, heroic actions to participate in the processes of change. Small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can and do transform the world. Even when we don't win, there is fun and fulfillment in the fact that we have been involved with other good people in something worthwhile. As human beings, we need hope. An optimist isn't necessarily a blithe, slightly sappy whistler in the dark of our time. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something great. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, he writes, where people have behaved magnificently, bravely, wisely, courageously, simply, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of present moments of now. And to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. So it is worth repeating. Small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can and do transform the world. And we need hope. So keep hope alive and keep love at the center. Amen. Now let us rise and sing a song of hope and of courage and of unity. Number 1021 in the Teal hymnal, Lean on Me.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrows, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Back to the beginning.
Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on the brother when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on.
Back to the top.
If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'll ride up the road, I'll share your load. If you just call me, lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
You just
Call on might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on.
We all need
somebody to lean on.
Amen. Ooh, let us join our hearts now in a spirit of prayer, meditation, reflection. Be followed by the sound of a chime leading us into a few minutes of just peaceful silence, breathing together. So if you can now practice that, take a nice deep breath and relax your body. Engage your heart, your mind. Follow your breath into stillness. Hear these words of prayer. Spirit of life, known to us in many ways, called by us many names. We welcome your presence within, among, and beyond us. In all the ways that life finds us in this moment of doubt and need and power. Join our hearts together in peace. Spirit of wisdom, as we prepare to elect new citizens to lead us in our communities, our towns, our cities, our counties, our states, our nation, our heart-torn nation. Grant us wisdom and discernment so that we may choose those of peaceful heart, of competent mind, and of servant spirit. Spirit of the harvest, help us to winnow the grain from the chaff and to reap the legacy of freedom.
It's actually not in your left because it's in my hand right now. But you can write in it, and we'll read the entries out. Here are the entries from our friends on Zoom. Was it Zoom? Jeff will give me the smartphone, if any. I guess there were none. Today, 11:03, good. I've already heard one UU service today. This message, the message, find comfort in community. If you're feeling anxious this week, is from Joanne. Thank you, Joanne. And Margaret says, I would like to celebrate Rachel Starr's life full of love, humor, and strength. Now is the time we say the names of anyone we want to send loving energy and support. I would like to send love and support. To Martha Ann and Pete.
Theo and Nachi.
All the people of Gaza, people of Lebanon.
Now we move. Now we move to the silent part of our morning ritual. It is the healing ritual with water and stones for anything that is in our hearts that we wish to bring into the community, but is perhaps too sensitive to speak aloud. We have a symbolic action that people can take. You can walk down the center aisle, choose a stone or stones, and immerse them in water, which represents our community. Please find the intention in your heart and come forward. For all that we have shared and for all that we will share in our ongoing lives together, may we be grateful. The metta meditation comes to us from the Buddhist tradition of cultivating compassion and loving kindness. Please join us in singing. The words are in the order of service.
May I be well, may I know joy, may I be free, may you be safe, may you be well, may you know joy, may you be free, may they be safe, may they be well, may they know joy, may they be free, may we be safe, may we be well, may all know joy, may all be free.
And now the wise, Joanna Foley, will lead us in the sharing of wisdom.
Today, we're going to have a different approach to the responsive reading. It's going to be collaborative. So back there, Christine has a basket of quotes of famous words, wise words about voting and the election process. There are 11 of them. So if you would like to be a participant in reading one of these quotes, raise your hand and you will get a quote, and then you will get the traveling mic. You don't even have to get up. So, when we think of upcoming Tuesday, we think it's Election Day. It's actually the culmination, the completion of Election Day. I heard on the radio this morning that 76,000 or 76,000 million or 78,000 millions of our fellow citizens have already voted. That's half the number of people who voted in 2020. I'm sure there will be a larger number voting this year. So the point of the quotes is to recognize the richness of the voting process. It's a practical thing, it's a secular thing, it's also a sacred thing. It's our participation in our covenant as people who share this land. So, Christine, in what I wrote, I offered a choice of that you could read a quote or tell your own story. And someone wiser than I suggested that would take up too much time. So just read your quote. I won't say who it was who told me that.
Our fight to protect one of our most sacred rights, the right to equal access to the ballot box, does not begin or end on Election Day. And this year in particular, it could not be more important. Michelle Obama.
Voting is the foundation stone of political action. Martin Luther King, Jr.
Our nation is asking for your voice because November is coming, it's here, and so is your choice. Do not throw away your shot. Lin-Manuel Miranda, creator of Hamilton, writer and actor.
The vote ballot is stronger than the bullet. Abraham Lincoln, 16th President of the United States.
The vote is the most
powerful instrument ever devised by human beings for breaking down injustice and destroying the terrible walls which imprison people because they are different from others. Lyndon Johnson.
It's not enough to just want change. You have to go out and make change by voting. Taylor Swift.
All that matters is who counts the votes. Stalin. If
You made that up.
If voting mattered, they would make elections illegal. Hitler. All right. I think we're a small enough group that we can put our individual 2 cents worth in, and those were just jokes because I thought it was time for a good chuckle. Now I'll read what's written here. There's no such thing as a vote that doesn't matter. It all matters. Barack Obama.
The right to vote is the crown jewel of American liberties, and we will not see its luster diminished. Ronald Reagan, 40th President of the United States.
Don't listen to people who say, "Oh, your vote doesn't count." It is hugely important. That's Chris Beecher, a Native American voting activist.
My vote is my voice, and the voice of all who struggled, so that I may have my voice. Lydia Obasi, actress.
Someone struggled for your right to vote, use it. Susan B. Anthony, women's rights activist during the suffragette movement in the early 20th century.
Asking to vote isn't just something you do for yourself. It is for our collective future. Oprah Winfrey telling people to
Thank you all. Keep these words in mind as we complete our process of voting on Tuesday.
One of my favorites, vote early and vote often, Richard Daley, former mayor of Chicago. Now is the time we share our responsibility for the home which we are creating together. Our shared plate partner for November is the World Food Kitchen. Founded in 2010 by Chef Jose Andres, the World Food Kitchen is a nonprofit organization that is first to the front lines, providing fresh meals in response to crisis. Applying the model of quick action, leveraging local resources, and adapting in real time, WCK has served more than 400 million nourishing meals around the world. Please give generously to support BFUU and our shared plate partner. Our offertory music is Democracy is Coming to the USA by Leonard Cohen, arranged by Mr. Benjamin Meyers.
It's coming through a hole in the air from those nights in Tiananmen Square. It's coming from the feel that it ain't exactly real, or it's real, but it ain't exactly there. From the wars against disorder, from the sirens night and day, from the fires of the homeless, from the ashes of the gay. Oh, democracy is coming to the USA. It's coming from the sorrow in the streets, those holy places where the races meet. from the homicidal friction that goes down in every kitchen to determine who will serve and who will eat. From the wells of disappointment where the women kneel to pray, from the grace of God in the desert here and the desert far away. Oh, democracy is coming to the USA. Sail on, oh mighty ship of state, to the shores of need, past the reefs of greed, through the squalls of hate. Sail on, sail on, sail on. It's coming to America first, the cradle of the best and of the worst. Oh, it's here we've got the change and machinery for change, and it's here we've got the spiritual thirst. Oh, it's here the family's broken, it's here the lonely say that our hearts have got to open in a fundamental way. Oh, democracy is coming to the USA. I'm sentimental, if you know what I mean. I love the country, but I can't stand the scene. And I'm neither left nor right, I'm just staying home tonight, getting lost in that hopeless little screen. But I'm stubborn as those garbage bags that time will not decay. I'm junk, but I'm still holding up a little wild bouquet. Oh, democracy is coming to the USA. Join. Democracy is coming. Oh, democracy is coming to the USA. Oh, democracy is coming. Amen.
And now let us dedicate, whoa, there it is. Now let us dedicate our offerings to the work of this fellowship, which is creating beloved community within and beyond these walls. We dedicate ourselves and these, our offerings. We gratefully acknowledge all who have worked on the service today. Thanks to all of you who are here and those in the Zoom room whose names were actually written down here for me to read, but I lost it. Mike and Jinky. Ben Birch. Yeah. And we'd like to say Paul and the forgetful Jeff, who are operating the dials and knobs and switches in the back to get us out on Zoom and YouTube. Joanna for preparing the wisdom for today. Check your order of service for announcements. If you are not receiving our email newsletter, you can sign up for it by going to bfuu.org. Next Sunday, Reverend Dr. Carrie Knowles will explore the current quest to perceive and understand dark energy and dark matter that lies around us, with a talk titled The Mystery of Our Universe, The Unknown 96%. Yes, sir.
Thank you for letting me do this. I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow night, Monday, 7 o'clock, you can come into a discussion in Zoom about the apartheid-free communities establishment and our vote on next Sunday to join or not to join, and hopefully we'll do what we want to do. So apartheid-free communities, you need to send me your email, and then I'll send you the Zoom information. Thank you.
And his name is Tom Luce. The worship service. The people who plan these services, it's the committee, it's called worship. I hate using the word committee because it sounds like it's boring, but we have a tremendous amount of fun. Anyway, the team, yes, so good job. The worship service team will meet this Wednesday at 7 o'clock on Zoom. So if you want to come hang out with us, give us some of your ideas. You don't have to do anything. Just listen, and if you have an idea, throw it out there. And we won't even make you come back. But you'll have so much fun, you will want to come back. After that, we have a congregational meeting next Sunday, which only happens twice a year. And it's going to happen on Zoom and in person. So we'll have a normal service, then we'll have food, and then we'll have our congregational meeting. If you're still here eating with us, you could just stay here. If you're at home on Zoom, then you could be there. And we'll have that at 12:30 next Sunday. And finally, the 22nd of this month, two things, sorry. Let me backtrack. Dance. This Friday, dance, I think it's 7 o'clock. Just look in your order of service, and it describes the freestyle dance. If you'd like to do that, we'd love to see you here. And finally, 7:30. Thank you, Phoebe. I always get that wrong. Thank you. And finally, on the 22nd of this month, if you're between the ages of 18 and 39, which I am definitely, hopefully I'll see you there. And it's Young Adults East Bay Meetup, organized by UU. So it's a UU Young Adults East Bay Meetup. It's Friday on at 7 o'clock. So look in your order of service and you'll find more information about that. It's at a restaurant or a bar or something in Oakland, and it's in the order of service. Thanks.
The Worship Services Committee is great fun. I had the pleasure of serving on it for a while until the pressure became too much and I had to retire. It was really great fun. Thank you all for joining us. Now it is time to extinguish the chalice. Please read with me the words in your order of service. We extinguish the flame of this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of service. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. And now for our final circle, please form a circle around the hall. We're going to sing our hymn, Circle Round for Freedom, hymn number 155, and join hands and have fun.
May you seek health and wholeness in all things. and exercise a generosity of substance and spirit in all that you do. And may the truth always come easily to your lips, even in this world that is often fearful and fractured and false. Despite this, strive to be happy, but remain unsatisfied until this world is made more fair and all her people won by what we do and leave undone. Go in peace, live in grace and gratitude. Return again and again in love. Amen. Amen. Thank you all for coming.
You're willing to relinquish it, I would like